I'd love to talk about trust in AI, but before we get to that, can you just tell me what trust means to you?
I wrote a book about trust. I don't see it on my bookshelf right now. It is an incredibly complex concept, and it has many meanings. It's an overloaded word, kind of like security. So asking people what trust means to them, I think, is bad because it means many things in many contexts to everybody. There's a difference between trust and trustworthiness. Right? In a security context, trust is often something you have to trust, not something that's trustworthy. I do write about the difference between a more intimate personal trust and social trust, but there's a lot of scholars about trust, and they have very different definitions, and it really depends on what angle you're taking. So I tend to keep it open because many people have different needs when they talk about the need for trust. And as a security person, we often have to provide for them all. But in terms of AI, I think we should differentiate between interpersonal trust. You might trust a friend, and a more social trust. You might trust a bank teller or an Uber driver.
Can you just elaborate on that? Like, what's the difference between interpersonal trust and social trust? Like, when would you need one or the other?
You might need, it's not really about need, it's about the relationship. So interpersonal trust is you trusting a friend, right? It's based on your knowledge of them. It's less about their behavior and more about their inner selves. I trust a friend, I trust a spouse, I trust a relative. We know what that means. I don't know what they're going to do, but I kind of know it'll be informed by who they are. When I say I trust an Uber driver, it's a very different form of trust. Right? I don't know this person, right? I don't even know their last name. I just met them. But I trust that their behavior means I'm going to get taken to my destination, right? Safely. And they could be a bank robber at night. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. So for social trust, there are systems of society that enable that. I mean, the reason I don't just get in the car of random strangers, but I get in the car of random strangers who are Uber drivers, there's an entire system based on surveillance, based on competition for star rankings, based on whatever background checks Uber does, based on my history, based on their history, that enables us to trust each other in that interaction. Right? Same thing when I hand cash over to a bank teller. I don't know who they are. I'm giving them my money. But I know there's an entire system that the bank has to allow me to trust that person in that circumstance. If we walked outside the bank down the block, I would never give that person my money, like ever. But in the bank, I would. And that's the difference. And it's a really important difference. Because social trust scales. Interpersonal trust is only based on who I know. It's not going to be more than 100 people in society. And it'll probably be less than that. But social trust, I could trust thousands, millions of people. Right? I flew in on an airplane yesterday. Think of all the people I trusted during that process, including like all the passengers not to leap over and attack me. And, I mean, that's a little bit funny, but if we were chimpanzees, we couldn't do that. So social trust is a big deal. It is unique to humans, and it makes society work.
So it seems like social trust is then going to be incredibly important when it comes to AI. So in the same way that you mentioned the bank example, where there's hundreds of different people involved in sort of creating all these systems to make sure that social trust works, what's the equivalent that's needed for trusting AI?
So AI is interesting because AI pretends to be a person. AI pretends to have a relationship with you. It doesn't. And it is social trust. So in the same way you trust your phone, your search engine, your email provider, it is a tool. And like all of those things, it is a pretty untrustworthy tool. Right? Your phone, your email provider, your social networking platform, they all spy on you. Right? They are all operating against your best interest. My worry is that AI is going to be the same, that AI is fundamentally controlled by large for-profit corporations, that surveillance capitalism will be, unavoidable as a business model, and these systems will be untrustworthy. We want social trust with them, but we won't have it. And because they are relational, because they are conversational, they will fool us, right? We will be fooled into thinking of them as friends and not as services. Whereas at best, they're going to be services. So I worry a lot about people misplaced trust in AI.